On September 14, 2019, at exactly 11:47 a.m., maritime businessman Marcus Rothwell transmitted his final VHF radio check-in from coordinates 4112 and 234 feet W. Coast Guard. This is Vessel Sea Fortune. All systems green. K. Montauk, point 1400 hours. Court. City Adder discovered something aboard his 58-foot Hatteras that would turn a missing person case into one of the most disturbing maritime mysteries the Coast Guard has ever investigated. This is what really happened. Marcus Rothwell wasn't just another weekend sailor. With 23 years of commercial maritime experience, including his Master Mariner's license and certification in advanced navigation systems, he logged over 180,000 nautical miles across Atlantic shipping routes. At 52, he was planning to retire within 18 months to his dream of circumnavigating the globe with Sarah, his wife of 16 years. When Marcus failed to return from what should have been a routine client meeting off Martha's Vineyard, the Coast Guard initiated a Category to search and rescue operation. Sector Southeast New England deployed to MH-60 Jayhawk helicopters in the 87-foot patrol boat USCGC Seneca, covering over 2,400 square nautical miles in deteriorating weather conditions. But what puzzled maritime investigators from the beginning was a technical anomaly that violated every protocol Marcus had followed religiously throughout his career. His eyes transponder had been manually disabled at 12:23 p.m., just 36 minutes after his final radio transmission. The Sea Fortune's GPS chart plotter revealed Marcus had deviated from his filed float plan by approximately 8.2 nautical miles southeast of his intended route. Marine electronics specialist Jennifer Torres of the Coast Guard's Auxiliary Technical Unit analyzed the vessel's navigation data. The GPS shows a deliberate course change at 12:19 p.m., followed by the boat maintaining a steady 8-knot speed for exactly 47 minutes before coming to a complete stop. But it was Chief Petty Officer Michael Harrison, a 20-year Coast Guard veteran, who first noticed something that would fundamentally shift the investigation's focus. When we boarded the Sea Fortune, the engine was cold. It had been for hours, but the cabin showed clear signs of recent occupancy. Fresh coffee in the galley, navigation charts spread across the helm station, and Marcus's reading glasses sitting right where he'd left them. Then Sarah made a discovery that changed everything. While searching through Marcus's personal effects aboard the yacht, she found a waterproof document pouch hidden behind the electrical panel, a location only someone with intimate knowledge of the boat's systems would know. Inside was a handwritten note in Marcus's distinctive maritime plotting script. If you're rereading this, think David Kellen has already won. The Prometheus contracts were never real. Check the manifest logs from September 2018. The name David Kellen sent shockwaves through the investigation. Kellen was Marcus's former business partner in their maritime consulting firm, the same partner who had supposedly died in a boating accident off Cape Cod 13 months earlier. Coast Guard investigators immediately pulled the maritime casualty report from Kellen's alleged accident. What they discovered defied everything they thought they knew about this case. Marine safety investigator Captain Lisa Rodriguez uncovered a disturbing pattern. The boat recovered in Kellen's accident showed signs of deliberate scuttling. Seacocks opened, through-hole fittings compromised. But here's what didn't make sense. The life raft deployment was manual. It's from inside the cabin, not the emergency activation you'd expect from someone in distress. The Prometheus contracts Marcus referenced turned out to be a sophisticated maritime insurance fraud scheme. Kellen had allegedly orchestrated the false documentation of cargo manifests for overseas shipping routes, claiming vessels carried high-value electronics when they actually transported standard manufactured goods. The inflated insurance payouts totaled over $2.8 million. But wait, What investigators found next would rewrite the entire narrative of this case. Advanced sonar analysis of the seafloor beneath where the Sea Fortune was discovered revealed something extraordinary. A debris field containing fragments of another vessel, approximately 150 feet down. The metal composition and design elements matched David Kellen's boat, the same boat the Coast Guard had recovered and documented as evidence of his death. David Kellen hadn't died in that boating accident. He had staged his own death and spent 13 months planning the perfect maritime murder. Using a remotely operated vehicle, ROV, equipped with high-definition cameras, Coast Guard divers made a discovery that would haunt maritime investigators for years to come. Coordinates 41,907,141 They found Marcus Rothwell's body, still wearing his distinctive maritime watch and wedding ring, tethered to a concrete anchor precisely 127 feet below the surface, the exact depth that ensures a body will unsurface due to decomposition gases. The medical examiner's report revealed Marcus had been killed by a single gunshot wound to the head, fired at close range with a flare gun, a weapon commonly found on every recreational vessel, making it virtually untraceable. But the truly devastating detail was the timestamp on Marcus's watch. It had stopped at 1:14 p.m. on September 14th, just 27 minutes after his final Coast Guard transmission. What remains a maritime mystery that still baffles investigators is how Kellen managed to pilot both vessels simultaneously back to shore. Advanced GPS analysis shows the Sea Fortune returning to its mooring under power at 3:47 p.m., while harbor security cameras confirm Kellen's presence at the marina office, filing a routine fuel receipt at exactly the same time. Maritime forensics expert Dr. Robert Chin, who has investigated over 200 vessel-related homicides, admits this case defies conventional maritime crime analysis. The precision timing, the knowledge of Coast Guard protocols, the understanding of deep-water body disposal. This wasn't just murder. It was maritime expertise weaponized. The manhunt for David Kellen triggered the largest maritime fugitive search in Coast Guard District 1 history. Sector Boston coordinated with Interpol's Maritime Division, issuing alerts to over 40 international ports, where Kellen's expertise in shipping documentation could help him disappear permanently. Detective Sergeant Maria Santos of the Massachusetts State Police Maritime Unit discovered Kellen's escape route through meticulous analysis of marina security footage. He had access to a 34-foot Catalina sailboat registered under a false identity 3 months before Marcus's murder. The boat's GPS showed a direct route to Halifax, Nova Scotia, where it was abandoned at a commercial fishing dock. Canadian authorities found the sailboat stripped of all electronics and identification numbers, but marine forensics recovered something Kellen could unerase: microscopic paint transfers on the starboard hull that matched the Sea Fortune's gel coat composition. The evidence confirmed that both vessels had made contact during the murder, likely when Kellen transferred Marcus's body to his own boat for disposal. Kellen's maritime expertise worked against him in ways he never anticipated. Harbor master records from 3 Nova Scotia ports showed fuel purchases made with a credit card bearing the same magnetic signature as cards Kellen had used in Massachusetts. The trail led investigators to a cargo freighter bound for Northern Europe, where Kellen had allegedly secured passage using forged merchant marine credentials. With the Sea Fortune's electronic evidence provided investigators with a minute-by-minute reconstruction of Marcus's final hours. Marine electronics technician First Class Jennifer U. analyzed over 400 data points from the vessel's integrated navigation system. The autopilot engaged at 1:47 p.m. and maintained a precise course back to Rothwell's home marina. But here's what's extraordinary. The system was programmed with waypoints that only someone with advanced maritime navigation knowledge could input. Similar fraudulent manifests involving over 40 cargo vessels with potential fraud totaling $15.7 million across 12 countries. Most disturbing to maritime investigators is evidence suggesting the Rothwell murder may not have been Kellen's first victim. cold case analysis has identified 3 other maritime accidents involving Callan's associates between 2016 and 2018, all sharing similar patterns of insurance payouts and suspicious circumstances. The Rothwell murder investigation catalyzed comprehensive changes in recreational boating safety protocols. The Coast Guard now requires enhanced position reporting for vessels over 26 feet, operating more than 20 nautical miles from shore. Automatic identification systems must include tamper-evident seals and backup transponders that activate if primary units are disabled. Marina security standards have been revolutionized based on lessons learned from Callan's escape. The Maritime Security Advisory Committee issued new guidelines requiring continuous video monitoring of all vessel movements, mandatory check-in procedures for single-person departures, enhanced background checks for marina access cards, automated alerts for vessels returning after extended absences. Private yacht insurance companies implemented new requirements for policyholders. Maritime insurance specialist Patricia Chen explains, policies now require vessel tracking systems, emergency beacons that cannot be manually disabled, and periodic safety inspections by certified marine surveyors. The Rothwell case proved that maritime murder was profitable until we made it technologically impossible. The case also influenced international maritime law enforcement cooperation. The Interpol Maritime Crime Unit established new information sharing protocols, allowing real-time tracking of suspected maritime criminals across international boundaries. Dr. Robert Chen's analysis of the Rothwell case became required reading at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center's Maritime Crime Curriculum. This murder succeeded initially because the perpetrator understood maritime systems better than the investigators. Modern maritime crime prevention requires law enforcement to match the technical expertise of potential criminals. The case highlighted critical gaps in Coast Guard investigative capabilities. Prior to the Rothwell murder, maritime law enforcement focused primarily on drug interdiction and immigration violations. Homicide investigation required entirely new forensic protocols and technical expertise. Marine forensic specialist Dr. Hoffman developed new investigative techniques based on the case. Every modern vessel generates terabytes of electronic data: GPS, breadcrumbs, engine performance logs, communication records, even entertainment system usage patterns, all provide evidence that can reconstruct criminal activities with extraordinary precision. The psychological profile of maritime murderers has been revolutionized by this case. FBI Behavioral Analysis Unit Specialist Dr. Marcus Webb explains, traditional homicide perpetrators lack the technical knowledge and patience required for maritime murder. Callan represents a new category of criminal, highly educated, professionally trained, with access to specialized equipment and knowledge. The murder of Marcus Rothwell exposed vulnerabilities in our maritime safety systems that most recreational boaters never imagined. But it also demonstrated that modern technology makes maritime crime increasingly difficult to execute and conceal. Sarah Rothwell's advocacy work has resulted in over 200 Coast Guard auxiliary members receiving advanced electronics training, and 37 marinas implementing enhanced security protocols. Marcus would be proud that his death has made the maritime community safer for everyone, she reflects. But questions remain that should concern every boat owner. How many other David Callans are exploiting maritime expertise for criminal purposes? What vulnerabilities exist in your own vessel's safety systems? Are you prepared for maritime emergencies that go beyond weather and mechanical failures? The Coast Guard's investigation continues, with agents still pursuing leads on Callan's potential accomplices and additional victims. If you have information about unusual maritime activities, unexplained boat disappearances, or suspicious insurance claims involving recreational vessels, contact the Coast Guard's Maritime Crime Tip Line at 1-800-BE-ALERT. The Marcus Rothwell Foundation provides free maritime safety seminars at boat shows across the Northeast. Their next presentation, Electronics and Evidence: How Your Boat's Computer Systems Can Save Your Life, will be at the Newport International Boat Show on September 15th for Twisted Crimson Vial. I'm your host, reminding you that the ocean keeps its secrets until technology forces them to surface. Sometimes, those secrets reveal that the greatest danger isn't the sea itself. It's the person at the helm of the boat beside you. Subscribe now for our upcoming investigation into the Connecticut Coast Guard station that discovered something impossible in their radar. RECORDS, evidence of ghost ships that appear on instruments but cast no shadow on the water. You won't believe what maritime investigators found when they tracked these phantom vessels to their source. The ocean never forgets. And now, neither do we. Coast Guard investigators realized Kellen had spent months studying Marcus's routine maritime patterns. Analysis of the Sea Fortune's historical GPS data revealed Kellen had been tracking Marcus's movements using commercially available vessel monitoring systems, building a comprehensive database of his victims' nautical habits. The murder weapon, a 25mm flare gun manufactured by Orion Safety Products, was recovered by commercial fishermen 18 nautical miles northeast of the crime scene. Ballistics analysis confirmed it had fired the shot that killed Marcus, but the weapon had been deliberately weighted with lead diving weights and dropped at the precise GPS coordinates where tidal currents would carry it away from the primary crime scene. Marine forensic specialist Dr. Patricia Hoffman examined microscopic evidence that revealed Kellen's meticulous planning. We found traces of marine-grade adhesive on Marcus's clothing, consistent with him being restrained using dock lines. The rope fibers matched samples from Kellen's abandoned sailboat, proving premeditation and maritime-specific knowledge of restraint techniques. David Kellen's maritime expertise ultimately led to his downfall. Interpol's Maritime Division tracked him to Rotterdam, Netherlands, where he had secured employment with a shipping company using credentials stolen from a deceased merchant marine officer. His mistake was applying for a berth on a vessel bound for South American ports, the same route he and Marcus had used for their legitimate consulting business. Dutch maritime police arrested Kellen aboard the MV Northern Navigator as it prepared to depart for Santos, Brazil. In his cabin, investigators discovered detailed charts of the Brazilian coast, forged entry documents, and over $180,000 in maritime insurance fraud proceeds hidden inside a modified life jacket. The arrest warrant was served by Inspector Klaus Mueller of Interpol's Maritime Crime Unit. Kellen had transformed himself into the perfect maritime fugitive. New identity, extensive knowledge of international shipping routes, and enough stolen money to disappear permanently. But his obsession with the same South American ports that made him successful in legitimate business created a pattern we could track. During his extradition hearing, Kellen's defense attorney argued that the evidence was circumstantial, but prosecution had maritime forensics that painted an undeniable picture. The concrete anchor used to weight Marcus's body contained unique aggregate materials, traceable to a marine construction project Kellen had consulted on 6 months before the murder. The trial of David Kellen became a landmark case in maritime forensics. Prosecutor District Attorney Michelle Thompson presented evidence that revolutionized how law enforcement investigates vessel-related homicides. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, modern boats are essentially floating computers. Every system, every movement, every decision is recorded in digital memory that cannot be erased. The prosecution's star witness was Dr. Elena Vasquez, director of the National Maritime Forensics Laboratory, who explained how Kellen's own maritime expertise had created an unbreakable evidence chain. The defendant understood boats, navigation, and Coast Guard procedures, but he underestimated how modern marine electronics create a permanent record of every criminal act. Key evidence included GPS breadcrumb trails showing both vessels' movements with precision timing, VHF radio frequency analysis proving Kellen had monitored Coast Guard communications, marine fuel analysis linking both crime scene vessels to the same refueling station, tidal charts demonstrating Kellen's knowledge of current patterns for body disposal. Keeler defense argued that maritime accidents are common and that circumstantial evidence couldn't prove premeditated murder. But Chief Marine Surveyor Robert Jung's testimony destroyed this argument. The anchor system used to weight the victim's body required specialized knowledge of underwater anchoring techniques, concretion, the chain specifications, the depth calculation. These aren't accidents. They represent years of maritime engineering experience applied to murder. Sarah Rothwell's victim impact statement revealed the devastating personal cost of maritime murder. Marcus wasn't just my husband. He was my sailing partner, my navigator through life. David Kellen didn't just kill Marcus. He destroyed my trust in the maritime community that had been our entire world for over 2 decades. Case transformed Sarah into an advocate for maritime safety and crime prevention. She established the Marcus Rothwell Foundation, which provides grants for advanced marine electronics training and Coast Guard auxiliary education programs. If Marcus's death can prevent one other family from experiencing this loss, then some meaning comes from this tragedy. Coast Guard Commandant Admiral Michael Hayes implemented new protocols based on the Rothwell murder investigation. This case demonstrated vulnerabilities in our maritime monitoring systems. We enhanced requirements for eyes transponder tamper detection and implemented automated alerts when vessels deviate significantly from filed float plans. The maritime industry also responded with technological improvements. Major manufacturers now include anti-tampering features in navigation equipment and automatic distress beacon activation systems that cannot be manually disabled without specialized codes. On March 17, 2021, David Kellen was sentenced to life imprisonment without possibility of parole for first-degree murder, maritime fraud, and identity theft. Patricia Morrison's sentencing remarks established new legal precedents for maritime-related homicides. The defendant exploited his specialized knowledge of maritime systems to commit the perfect murder. This court finds that professional expertise used to facilitate murder constitutes an aggravating factor, requiring the harshest possible sentence. The case established important legal precedents for prosecuting maritime crimes. Electronic navigation data is admissible as direct evidence in murder trials. Maritime professional credentials create enhanced criminal liability. International waters jurisdiction can be established through victim's final GPS position. Staged maritime accidents require specialized forensic investigation protocols. Legal experts consider the Kellen case a watershed moment in maritime criminal law. Professor Dr. Amanda Richardson of the Maritime Law Institute explains, "This prosecution proved that modern vessels generate so much electronic evidence that maritime murder has become virtually impossible to conceal from competent investigation." The conviction was upheld on appeal at the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court, ruling that maritime expertise constitutes specialized knowledge that enhances criminal culpability rather than providing grounds for reduced sentencing. Despite Kellen's conviction, several aspects of Marcus Rothwell's murder remain unexplained maritime mysteries that continue to puzzle investigators. Coast Guard Marine Safety Investigator Captain Rodriguez admits, "We proved Kellen killed Marcus and disposed of his body. Plot the precise logistics of how he managed to operate 2 vessels simultaneously while maintaining his alibis at the marina defies our understanding of single-person maritime operations." Advanced computer modeling by the Maritime Research Institute suggests Kellen may have used autopilot systems in ways that exceed their designed capabilities. Dr. Chen explains, "The GPS data shows navigation precision that seems impossible for manual operation. Either Kellen had access to military-grade autopilot technology, or he had an accomplice we never identified." The insurance fraud scheme that motivated the murder revealed vulnerabilities in international maritime documentation that remain unresolved. T's Maritime Crime Division continues investigating.